Buenas tardes, buenas noches, bienvenidos sean todos ustedes a este asunto de radio por internet que se llama El Vórtice y que se transmite a través de las redes de Saber Sin Fin, Saber Sin Fin com en Facebook Live, Saber Sin Fin portal en Facebook Live también, Saber Sin Fin radio y TV, esto a través de YouTube en vivo, en esta ocasión medio azul y azulado desde Musa Café. Y Nereo, ¿cómo andas?
Bien, bien, aquí con un honor de recibir a Passepartout Duo.
Pero fuerte, fuerte.
Desde Italia, porque viene cerrando su gira que empezó en abril de 2022. Y Puebla fue la última ciudad y justamente este foro va a ser el que va a cerrar. Entonces, sí, bien a gusto.
Exactamente. Entonces, pues damos la bienvenida. Welcome, Passepartout Duo. How you doing?
You're good?
Pretty good, yeah, thank you.
How is Mexico treating you? ¿Cómo los trata México?
Very well.
I'm not sure it could be better.
Yeah.
Are you planning to go back to Italy? ¿Sí planean regresar a Italia? Or you're going to be Mexican from now on? ¿O ya serán mexicanos?
Well, we at least have to take a break from Mexico, unfortunately. But yeah, I think we'll be back. So.
Como decía Nereo, llevan una gira larga, ¿no? Por México.
Y Latinoamérica, que fue lo...
Antes de empezar la transmisión, en México al menos, hablamos de Oaxaca, Yucatán, Ciudad de México,
Morelia,
bueno, Michoacán, y me falta una. Bueno, pues Puebla, por supuesto. Pero antes venían de otros lugares, ¿no? Where do you come from in this tour?
Yeah, well, we started from Colombia,
Colombia, Perú,
Chile,
Argentina,
Uruguay,
nada más. So it's a 1,000 kilometers, ¿no? Thousands and thousands of kilometers. Muchos kilómetros.
Not all at once, thankfully, little by little. Yeah.
Pero todo tiene un comienzo, ¿no? Everything has a start. Where does this start in your lives? ¿Dónde empieza toda esta parte de la música? When you were a little kid, your parents forced you to do music, sus papás los forzaron, ¿no? Así de, a fuerza tienes que hacer música, or your parents say like, come on, shut up, don't do any noise.
What was your decision?
How come did you start with music?
Yeah, well, we both started really at a young age playing. Both of us started playing piano. Nico stuck with piano all the way until today. I eventually moved to percussion when I was a teenager. But we both started from a young age. I think our parents encouraged us to do it. It was neither forced nor forbidden, let's say, or anything like that. But yeah, it's been with us our entire lives. And then there's our lives once we met, of course, starting to make music a little bit more strange, a little bit more divorced from this very classical background we came from. And from then on, we've been traveling the world, playing our music. Yeah.
Empezaron a una edad temprana, digamos por ahí de la adolescencia. How old were you when you started? Six,
yeah.
Okay.
Con piano.
Todos los chamacos, ¿no? De 6 años, ambos empezaron con el piano. Después se movió a las percusiones. Y después decidieron separarse de la corriente, vamos a decirlo así, clásica, y empezar a hacer sonidos extraños, quizás para muchas personas, pero para ellos era como lo más común. Se divorciaron de esta parte clásica. But how come did you divorce from these classic tunes?
Well, it wasn't a kind of sudden change, but something really gradual. And as a percussionist, it's kind of in our DNA to experiment with sounds, you know, to see every surface as something you can like hit or whatever and hear what it sounds like. And so we're always trying to experiment, and that leads us to want more experimentation, you know. And when you're playing classical music, sometimes it's not enough in that sense. And so we're always trying to get to something a little bit more new. And then when we met and we started playing together, we first started out playing this kind of new classical music or whatever you want to call it. And that soon led to first us writing our own music for our ensemble and then us making our own instruments, which was mostly due to practicalities of traveling. You can't travel around with a big marimba.
A big set.
Yeah, so we wanted to make something that was portable, that we could take with us. And yeah, it kind of happened like that. Always practically thinking about what can be new and interesting for us.
Ahora a ver si me acuerdo todo lo que nos dijo, ¿no? Pero básicamente, pues sí, ¿verdad? Empezaron a cambiar, pues, al mismo tiempo, esta misma exigencia, ¿no? Nereo, de decir, bueno, pues esto no nos satisface, vamos a empezar a hacer nuestra música, y después de hacer la música, pues resulta que también ahora hacen sus instrumentos, ¿no? A partir de que empezaron a tocar. Básicamente, I think the music that you made, the classical music that you made, didn't really satisfy yourselves, ¿no?
In some sense, yeah.
¿no? De ahí es donde empieza todo, que no estaban tan satisfechos con esta música que hacían, entonces hicieron su propia música.
Más en el corte que ahorita se llama música contemporánea, académica contemporánea.
But I think the main problem that we have that if you look from outside, it seems like there's only one way to make music. And for some people, it's just like playing Beethoven with the orchestra. For some other people, is to commission a new piece from the most appetizing composer on the scene right now. But there's so many ways to make music. And so we discovered...
listen to John Cage.
Yeah, exactly. So we are just discovering new ways. Yeah.
Sería lo más común, pues tocar, si tocas música clásica, tocar Beethoven, pero pues al final hay muchas maneras, ¿no? de hacer música, y no necesariamente tiene que ser clásica, aunque utilice los mismos instrumentos. Poco a poco va haciendo la exigencia un poco más demandante, ¿no? And then you met, because you were traveling your lives, ¿no? And then there's like a meeting, like a meeting point.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit how you met? Did you both went to the Oxxo and buy beer and then like, wow, we have the same kind of beer.
Yeah.
How come did you meet? ¿Cómo se conocieron? Llegaron al mismo Oxxo en Italia o en Estados Unidos, no sé, y se conocieron. How come did that happen?
Well, the Oxxo was called Atlantic Music Festival.
Atlantic Music Festival, ese era el Oxxo.
Yeah, and the beer was playing in the same ensemble there.
Okay.
And so we were working together for a month.
And Chris was teaching me quintuplets.
I don't know. But we were playing together in this ensemble, and yeah, we just wanted to keep playing together after that. And so we started applying for these like artist residencies to make it possible to like keep the project happening, because of course we were living on 2 separate continents or whatever. And so that was the way to start. And once we did that first residency, we were like, oh wow, maybe we can just do this. And so we've kind of been nonstop traveling between residencies and touring and everything since then. Yeah.
When was it?
2015.
Desde el 2015 se conocieron en el Atlantic Music Festival, ahí tocaban juntos, un mes, a month, y decidieron pues decir, bueno, pues ¿por qué no tocamos lo propio, ¿no? Hacer nuestras cosas independientemente del trabajo que estaban haciendo, iniciaron su proyecto, y de ahí para el real, como dicen aquí en México, ¿no? De ahí para el real.
Y sobre todo con residencias artísticas para que les diera su proyecto y también que les permitiera seguir viajando como estaban haciendo bastante bien.
So you started traveling since 2015. You met and immediately the first plane tickets and vámonos. How many continents, or not continents, how many countries have you visited? And meta universes and Oxxos have you traveled? ¿Cuántos países
I
han
don't know.
conocido?
I don't know.
Just round the world?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We're not like really ones to count that kind of thing, but yeah, all around Europe and Asia and a little bit of Africa and Americas and
La vuelta al mundo.
That's probably the name of the tour, ¿no? Passepartout.
Yeah.
Sí, yo estuve en una plática que ellos dieron en Casa Blinca, precisamente el viernes cuando llegaron aquí a Puebla, y nos mostraron un universo de, pues, para empezar, de Georgia hasta China por vía terrestre. Imagínense cuántos países que hacer vaya, de esos que ni se pronuncian de este lado. Y para empezar, Para empezar, ya de ahí, quién sabe.
Now there, I don't know if we can call it a problem or something to get ideas from, because every country, even every city, or even every person that you meet on the way, every musician, it's something or somewhere or someone to learn from.
Yeah.
How do you cope with that? Cada que viajas, que conoces una persona, un país, una ciudad, hasta un platillo, ¿no? Es una manera de aprender. ¿Cómo lidian con eso a la hora también de hacer su música? How do you take all that and put it into your music? How do you digest that? No? It's like
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put words to in a kind of simple way. I mean, I think it depends a lot on how deep our time is in that particular place, because you know sometimes we'll visit a place for just
for hours
and hours, yeah, and sometimes we'll be there 6 months or something.
Okay.
And so it changes your perception of the place, and it also changes, you know, everybody we meet is kind of an ambassador for the own world that they live in, whether they choose to be or not. It's just how we live our lives, just like we are kind of like ambassadors for where we came from and what we do. And so I mean, sometimes you can just catch the feeling of a place, and other times you get to something deeper. And I think for us, the key word is always kind of collaboration, you know? If we can collaborate with somebody in the place we go, that's the absolute best, because then there's this human connection there, that you're not just there as kind of like an observer of something. But yeah, it's a complex thing. There's a lot going on there, but
I think sometimes it's also useful to draw the lines between the dots. So there's some kind of like, maybe it's a comparative approach. So if maybe we've seen something in Mexico that we saw already in Japan happening, or I don't know, in Germany, and then or something slightly different, and then we try to understand what's going on and why is it different and so on. Then the fact that we are two and we are not only one, it means we have some way of like digesting between the dialogue, which helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more we do it, the more we realize kind of two things at the same time. One is that the world is kind of all the same in several ways that aren't immediately apparent to you if you only ever stayed in one place. But then at the same time, I'm unable to expect anything of a new place I haven't been. It always ends up being completely different from everywhere else. But yeah.
Okay. Y ahora vamos a ver si nos acordamos de todo lo anterior. Al final es la profundidad o el tiempo en el que permanecen en cada uno de los lugares, que puede ser a veces desde horas hasta quizás meses, ¿no? En los que están ahí y con los que van digiriendo cómo cada persona va conociendo o enseña su mundo, ¿no? De acuerdo a cómo viven. Entonces, y la cosa es como ir trazando la línea, van conectando estos puntos en los que van conociendo a la gente, pero sin embargo, how do you keep on being yourselves after knowing so many people, so many places? How do you keep your essence? ¿Cómo después de conocer a tantas personas, tantos lugares, tantos mundos, ¿no? Porque cada persona va mostrando el mundo en el que viven. ¿Cómo conservan la esencia personal en cada uno de ellos? How do you do that? Do you need a psychologist? Or just a few views?
I think if it's difficult to keep your essence, it's not your essence.
Okay. Si es difícil de mantener tu esencia, entonces no es tu esencia. Pónganlo en el Twitter.
No, but we like to think that we are very flexible as people and as artists, musicians, and but there are some core values that that are solid for us, and that I think we managed to actually focus on because of all these experiences. And once they are clear, they're not going anywhere.
Tienen ciertos valores que son, digamos, nucleares, ¿no? Y que son los que mantienen pueden ser flexibles como con la gente que conocen, con los músicos con los que participan, pero esos valores nucleares ahí permanecen, ¿no? Son los puntos claves en esta parte. No sé, Nereo, ¿quieres preguntar algo?
You mentioned about collaboration with people. You may have experiences with so many different ways of collaboration, and I would like to know a couple of them that, yeah, kept you something special for you.
Hablando de colaboraciones, ¿no? Con los diferentes músicos, ¿cuáles han sido como las más representativas, las más importantes que han tenido, ¿no? ¿Y qué pasó? ¿Cómo se conocieron, etcétera?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's two.
La pecera después.
Well, I was going to talk about that, actually. Special.
Okay.
Yeah, like when we were in China, we met through a mutual friend, this painter, who does this kind of huge pop art paintings. And he's also kind of on the side what he's really passionate about. It's like being a drummer in a rock band. And he's like maybe more passionate about this than painting.
But in no way professionally.
But in no way professionally, but his
moment.
paintings are like amazing, but he's like kind of just passionate about them or whatever. And doesn't speak a word of English. And he really wanted to work with us, and he really wanted to find a way of like translating painting into sound or something. And so with absolutely no words, no communication,
Just a little bit of phone translation.
Google Translate,
Yeah.
like not working well at
21st
all.
century technology,
Yeah.
made in China.
Yeah.
By the way.
But really, it doesn't work that great Chinese to English and that stuff. So it's really, if we wanted to do something where that mattered, that wasn't the place. But somehow we managed to just like make, I think, this great collaboration together. No words, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it really made me think, like, sometimes you have like a lot of communication with people, and it's like
So
a
much
problem.
misunderstanding.
And there's like a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of like, who knows whose intentions and like what, it gets all complicated. But in this case, it was like no words. The whole thing happened inside like 3 days. Yeah. And it was like a huge success for me. And it was like 3 days or something like that. Yeah, it was great. I love that. And I always think about that when I think about collaboration. But, and then what were you going to say?
Let me tell the audience about this collaboration while you think of the other. Un pintor chino que su trabajo es espectacular, pero al mismo tiempo también toca la batería en un grupo de rock. Y a pesar de que no habla inglés, sí, pero madre, nada. Entonces, pues eran tantas las ganas que tenía de colaborar con Passepartout Duo que pues empezaron a comunicarse a través de una aplicación, ¿no? De Google, ¿no? Para traducir lo que él quería decir. Bueno, así fue que mantuvieron esta comunicación. Y 3 días en China, o 3 días con él, pues se logró una colaboración bastante interesante. What about the other that you would mention?
I don't know. What do you think?
¿Están diciendo cuál? A ver,
yeah, I mean, the whole reason we started, I mean, this is also about China. I wish I could give more diverse stories, but the whole reason that we started writing our own music, and which was a turning point in our existence, was because we met this Chinese couple while we were in Iceland at the same artist residency, and they just like had it in their mind that we have to make a record. And so we kind of like collaborated. They just loved the idea of making this little vinyl record. And the original idea was going to be that, so we were in Iceland and it was in the middle of winter, so the sun never rises where we were. And there's also mountains, so even if you get even extra darkness because the sun has to rise extra to go above those mountains or whatever. So you just get like 2 hours of twilight in the day, and it's like very atmospheric, beautiful place. And so Giannis, the guy of the couple who was working with us, his idea was that in this 3 minutes of extra sunlight every day, you can have a song in this 3 minutes. And so he wanted to make this little record of 3 minutes. But, you know, it turned into a bigger album. And they did the visual artwork for it, and we wrote these pieces for piano and drums and electronics. And that collaboration has turned into like a 4 years collaboration with like 3 records, and it's been absolutely great.
I think it's a sort of pattern that we can see in our story, that sometimes somebody from the outside, somebody from the audience or something like that, come to us and say, oh, I think your project can be like this, and it can look like this, and can do this. And we never thought about it, but for a second we consider it, and we're like, yes, we like that. Yes, and that's very precious.
Okay. Just let me rebuttal one thing. You said Iceland, and in winter, and there's this extra sunlight for a couple of minutes.
Every day.
Every day. Okay. Entonces, but obviously you were in Iceland, right? Estando en Islandia, pues en invierno, donde hay algunos claxons como aquí afuera, pero sobre todo hay poca luz porque las montañas no permiten que el sol esté prácticamente cubierto por la sombra todo el día, excepto unos minutos, ¿no? Hay como unos minutos extras en los que el sol entra ahí. De por sí hay poco sol en invierno en el hemisferio norte, entonces...
Como la montañitas.
Digamos, más montañas, entonces, pues cada de estos 3 minutos diarios, ¿no? En los que había esta luz adicional, pues era el tiempo perfecto como para hacer una canción, y entonces había canciones con piano y con música electrónica y con algunos otros instrumentos. Entonces, así empezaron esa colaboración que terminó siendo pues un disco, ¿no? Un long play disc, un LP. Entonces, pues bueno, esa fue otra colaboración especial. Y entonces nos comenta Nicoleta que así ha sido la trayectoria de Passepartout Duo, que es, bueno, a donde llegan les dicen, bueno, pues es que a lo mejor ustedes pueden ir por acá o pueden ir por este rumbo, y no es algo en los que ellos estén como conscientes de decir, es que no es nuestra línea, dicen, pues órale.
Muchas veces ideas que vienen del público, ¿no? De especialistas o colegas.
Exactamente, entonces... Don David, si hubiera comentarios ahí en Facebook o en YouTube, pues nos los pones aquí en el chat para que los podamos leer. También aquí saludos a Agnia, que está pendiente de lo que está rayando porque nos pone atención, pero muchas gracias de todas maneras. Y si nos dicen también qué horas son, porque no vayan a ser que son las 10 de la noche y nosotros seguimos aquí platicando, ¿no?
2 minutos.
Ok, perfecto. I asked for the hour or the time because we can be here talking for hours and hours and hours, and we never stop. Even though you've traveled to so many countries, and I know that it's difficult to say like, this is my favorite country I've been to, or this is something that I miss from my country, but you might have some favorites in this tour of life, because it's not an American tour or an Asian tour or an African tour, it's a life tour.
We are watching and experiencing Peru, I think.
So, is there any favorites that you have from this journey in your musician life, in this Passepartout Duo tour?
I think we have some favorite experiences that are dependent on the country they were experienced, but not necessarily because of the country. But it's really funny also how the experience in a country for us is very determined also from where we come from and where we go after. Because there's this kind of line of expectations or kind of tension of stress and release in our life that makes us live through the country in different ways.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can say some of my favorite moments of this last tour. I mean, I guess they're seeing this video. And so this was from Peru in Caracas. And where we were staying in Lima, the person who was hosting us just like suddenly offered to go on a road trip in his like Volkswagen van, completely spontaneously. It was just amazing. And
with a clear vision, though.
With a very clear vision, he like wanted to make a music video. That's what he wanted to do. And we spent like 2 days searching for the perfect spot, according to him. And it ended up being here. And yeah, we camped out on the beach, and then he like brought the generator, we set up everything, and did it just like one take like that. And it was, yeah, it was amazing. Visited this little fishing village and got the food and everything. It was wonderful. And then in Chile, we visited the like highlands, the Altiplano, and I thought that was just absolutely magical. It's like another universe. We like asked we were in Arica, and we asked somebody, we were like spontaneously planning to go there, and we asked somebody about it, and they were like, "What are you doing? You're so unprepared. Like, people die on that road. You're going to be driving, and you're going to vomit and like fall out of the car and get the altitude or whatever." And you're like, "Oh my god!" And so we started like staying up all night googling like, how are we supposed to deal with this? And then we went to the gas station. We're like, Altiplano, and they were like, how many extra tanks of gas do we need? Because there's no gas stations in the whole area. And they were like, buy 3 of them. So we bought 3 of them. We didn't even use them. But yeah, and then it was really nice.
Una de las experiencias favoritas que han tenido en este viaje por América, en Perú, ¿no? Donde alguien les ofreció, digamos, una combi, ¿no? Para pues hacer un video musical, y pues tardaron 2 días para encontrar el punto adecuado, ¿no? Y entonces pues es justamente el video que estamos viendo en este momento, ¿no? Pues prácticamente en la nada, ¿no? No había nada ahí. There was nothing there.
Speech.
En la playa, sí dicen que llevaban hasta 3 bidones de gasolina que al final usaron porque no hay estaciones de gas trecho, ¿no?
Ni Oxxos.
Pero sí, ya con un generador, y pusieron ahí los instrumentos y pusieron un concierto que quedó ahí registrado.
I know that you make your instruments for the sake of traveling easier and faster, with less difficulty. But have you had any difficulties or any problems in airlines? Like, what is that? And you cannot take that, and things like that. ¿Han tenido algún problema ¿Han tenido algún problema viajando con los instrumentos que al final ustedes mismos fabrican? Que digan, eso no es un instrumento y no lo puedo llevar, o etc.
¿Qué es eso?
I mean, I think we're so desensitized to airport security at this point. Like, normally they have to look through everything, and it's just like kind of annoying. But we've never had any like real problem. Not dramatic problems. Like 2 times we've had to go through some spectacular customs length. One was just now in Uruguay. They like made us pay a cash deposit at the airport that we collected, and then we did a similar thing in Cuba. They like made us sign a bunch of stuff and pay some money. But yeah, it's okay. They just give us some weird looks and we move on with our lives.
It's more difficult to travel with a film camera.
Oh god, yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
They really don't.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, they're like, no, let me X-ray it. Really, it's gonna be fine.
No han tenido como problemas tan complicados con los instrumentos como otros músicos, ¿no? Que de repente el violonchelo o el cello, algunos otros instrumentos que incluso han tenido que pagar como si fueran pasajeros, ¿no? Ellos no han tenido esos problemas, aunque pues ya saben que ir a un aeropuerto pues es complicado porque son trámites. En Cuba y en Uruguay les hicieron firmar muchos documentos, y hasta pagar como hay una lanita extra. Hablando de Uruguay, un besote para Maribel, enorme, love you. Y pues bueno, no ha sido. Dicen que es más peligroso viajar con una cámara de video, ¿no? Que tienen que meterle a los rayos X, ¿no? Para ver si no trae algún documental en contra de Joe Biden. Bueno, eso no lo dijeron ellos, eso lo dijeron. No vaya a ser, ¿no? Y no vaya a ser después, ¿no? Ahí tengan algún problema, creo.
Arturo mentioned about your passion for building instruments. How this passion came from?
¿De dónde viene esta pasión por construir sus propios instrumentos?
Yeah, it was the same. It was the same spark and the same people involved as that project in Iceland. Because after we met in Iceland, they invited us to come to China. That was the first time we went to China. And when we were there, they wanted us to work with this furniture brand that had made these instruments, these wooden instruments, super beautiful. And we wrote all this music for those instruments. And then when we were leaving, we were like, oh, it's so sad, we can never play this music again for these instruments. And so we were in Geneva for this residency, and we thought, okay, let's just try to build a version of these instruments that's kind of more portable, fits better with what we're doing, but it can still play this music. And we just kind of kept going from there. Like after making the set of instruments that could play that music, we kind of expanded it to be a bit more. And at that time in Geneva, I mean, you could find anything on the streets because people there, they have like a lot of money and they're just like, I don't need this TV anymore. I'll just put it on the street or something like that. So you can like find anything on the streets. And so we were making these instruments from just wood and metal and simple things from like found materials. And that was the first time we kind of made an album and a piece out, starting with the starting point of the instruments. And then since that project, every kind of discographic project that we do, we kind of start from the instruments and write some music for those instruments. And that's kind of how we go about playing music. Yeah.
You said Geneva in Italy?
In Switzerland.
Genova, Italia.
Yeah, Switzerland.
Suiza. Pues sí, así fue. Desde esa vez que estuvieron en Islandia, ¿no? Donde el proyecto tuvo que involucrar diferentes instrumentos, pues fue que nació la inquietud de crear los propios. Y pues justamente en Génova, ¿es Génova? Génova.
No, it's
Bueno,
Geneva,
en Suiza. Ahorita no me acuerdo cómo en español. Pues, Ginebra, claro. En Ginebra, en Suiza, pues la gente saca las cosas que no necesita, que no necesariamente son cosas que sean viejas o que ya no sirvan, simplemente ya no las necesitan, están en la calle, sacan, sí. Y entonces pues empezaron a utilizar algunos de estos materiales, digamos, reciclar algunos de estos materiales para hacer los instrumentos, sobre todo los circuitos, ¿no? I guess the circuits.
They came after.
They came after.
Yeah.
These were really simple, like just wood and metal.
Yeah, that's
Metal, madera y empezaron con la parte acústica, ya los circuitos vinieron después.
Yeah, but overall, I think to build our own instruments, we have like a new philosophy about it. But at the start, it was a lot about a new approach and much closer to jugar que tocar. And so just with curiosity, exploring the materials was a new way of composing the music for us, and it was really interesting.
Es como un nuevo enfoque, ¿no? Que le dan a la parte de los instrumentos. En inglés, pues la palabra es play para jugar y play para tocar un instrumento, ¿no? Entonces, lo que ellos hacen es más jugar que tocar el instrumento per se. Pero entonces aquí viene algo súper interesante e importante. How close have you been to children? Because you want to make them play de jugar y play de tocar algún instrumento, ¿no? Because music makes their brain grow bigger and bigger and bigger and make them smarter and wiser and a lot of comparatives. So what has been your approach to kids in terms of, well, this is music, do it, you can touch, you can do, you can make? ¿Cuál ha sido el acercamiento con los niños desde el momento en el que es jugar, tocar, aprender, conocer, tener el acercamiento a, pues, a todo lo que ellos hacen?
Well, we don't have like a specific, let's say, educational program for children, and we think like we are not like super.
We're probably not the right people
Yeah.
to be doing that, but especially me.
But in some way, it's very easy because they do look like the children do look at the instruments like a game, like instruments. I mean, like play toys. Yeah, and so they might have questions, but it's just a new thing in a world of new things. So it's not as strange, I think.
For a child.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Quizás dicen ellos que son quizás no las personas adecuadas como para acercarse a los niños, ¿no? Es que aparte son muy traviesos. Bueno, okay. It's difficult audience.
Yes. But we do have a dream of building sort of like library of musical instruments.
Yeah.
Because if you're a child and you have access to a musical instrument or you don't have access to a musical instrument, it's a world of difference.
Yeah.
And that's something very important.
Pero sí tienen una idea muy clara de crear una especie de biblioteca de instrumentos musicales, porque están convencidos de que si un niño tiene acceso o no a un instrumento musical, sí hay una diferencia en cómo pueda desarrollar su ser. ¿No? Interesting.
A ver, antes de que se nos olvide, manda saludos Pilar Machorro, Alejandro
Pilar
Reyes,
Machorro.
Tlacatelpa, y
Acá.
Agnia Ancha.
Ya no la conozco, pero saludos. Saludos. A donde quiera que se encuentre en este diverso y vasto universo. Muy bien, pues muchas gracias. And do you have any idea of where this library is going to be?
Well, ideally, it would be many small libraries. So
Okay.
if we could go to a place and stay a bit and develop with the people there ideas for instruments and then build instruments and leave them there for their access, that would be the idea.
En cualquier lugar en el que la biblioteca pueda estar, no tiene que ser una biblioteca grande, sino mejor muchas pequeñas. Entonces, pues prácticamente cada lugar que visiten podrá haber una. Have you had the like this curiosity or interest of getting in contact with the United Nations, with UNICEF, or any of these organizations to say like, this is our project, give us money?
I'm not sure they would be into that, but I don't know.
Have you ever even thought about it? ¿Alguna vez han tenido la curiosidad o el interés o incluso la idea de acercarse a organismos como la ONU o UNICEF? Pues porque les den lana, porque pues, la lana. O sea, ¿creen que tienen la lana del mundo para andar viajando y haciendo? No, lana. Se necesita. Money is necessary for this kind of projects.
I don't think ours is the most efficient humanitarian effort, it's just like giving small amounts of people music. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
No lo habían pensado porque al final su música no ha conglomerado tanta gente. But if you think about it, if you put all the numbers together, it makes a big number.
Yeah.
Se ponen todos juntos, pues bueno, sí será un número. Pero, pues, ¿por qué no? Y si alguien del público conoce a alguien que trabaja en la UNICEF y que es el que da la lana, pues entonces, díganles, acérquense a ellos y pónganles ahí. Passepartout Duo, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
A bit.
Yeah.
Let's not discriminate.
Yeah. Like social media.
Passepartoutduo.com. Yeah, no, I think those are the ones. TikTok. You've
Not
tried
yet.
TikTok?
Yeah.
No? I think that's. I just opened mine today.
How's it going?
I haven't posted anything yet. Ya abrí mi TikTok hoy. Espero al rato hacer un cloud software. I don't know what to do. Pero bueno, I'll do something. You close your tour tomorrow. ¿No?
Yeah.
Cierran el tour mañana. And then,
And then we go to the Netherlands. We're there for 2 months, working at a ceramics work center in preparation for a festival in September. And so we'll be building ceramic instruments for 2 months and making like a performance with them at the festival.
Where?
In the Netherlands.
Okay. Van a los Países Bajos, antes conocido como Holanda, van a ir a un taller de cerámica. Entonces, pues no nada más es como para desestresarse, sino más bien como para empezar a construir instrumentos a partir de cerámica. Have you tried ceramics before?
We did try once, but it's still super new to us. So it's like a total experiment. Like we're totally learning as we go.
It's a difficult one.
It's a difficult one. It's like going to be a super challenge.
Apenas digo, no han tenido tanto contacto con ello, pero once I took a ceramics workshop and from a person from Oaxaca, by the way, where the clay is dark, you know, and I couldn't do anything because she said that my hands are hot. So every time that I tried to put something together, it broke. No puedo hacer nada en la cerámica porque quien nos dio Inca o Inca, by the way, quien nos dio este curso de cerámica de barro negro, ¿no? De Oaxaca, me dice, tus manos son calientes, entonces nada va a pegar. So I said like, well, yeah, there might be something else, probably plastilina or something else. I might do something else. Para que en septiembre, bueno, ya empiecen ellos, digo, después de este curso, de este taller en los Países Bajos, empezar a crear instrumentos en septiembre, ¿no?
Para un festival. Festival en septiembre. Y ya van a tocar con esos instrumentos.
Is this festival in the Netherlands as well?
Yeah.
Ahí mismo en los Países Bajos. And all the festival has to do with ceramics?
No, it's like a music festival.
Okay. Es un festival de música, pero bueno, ellos traen ese objetivo de hacer algo con cerámica. Basically, what kind of instruments? Any kind of instruments?
I mean, we're still forming. So the concept of the piece is that it's a future archaeological site.
Okay.
And so wow. We are, because clay is the thing that survives, you know? And so we're like inside of this future archaeological site, discovering the hidden sounds of this site. And because a lot of our recent instruments deal with electromagnetism, I think there's still going to be an element of that. So there's probably going to be some electromagnetic fields coming from the ceramics that we're discovering in different ways. And we're thinking about either maybe doing that with some conductive glazes, so we can like paint on the coils for the magnetic field, or maybe we'll just give up and use some wire with the ceramics. But you know, something like this, and it's yeah.
Basically, we want to experiment with a new form, or like some form that seems to relate to our practice, because it doesn't really make sense for us to build an ocarina, because
you know,
it's not really.
Yeah, it's neither our instrument.
Yeah,
exactly. Because that's our home, and it's probably what we can kind of contribute to the medium with, if anything. So.
I'm trying to find a word for that, ¿no? Porque están tratando de construir como la arqueología del futuro, dado que la cerámica es algo que ha permanecido por cientos, miles de años incluso. En cualquier lugar donde encuentran vestigios arqueológicos, la cerámica es el punto común. Entonces, pues que lo que construyan ahora se pueda encontrar en muchos años. Y pues bueno, a lo mejor ponerle un alambrito, algún circuito, alguna cosa así, pues hacer algo diferente, ¿no?
Sobre todo que ellos tienen una línea de percusiones y instrumentos electrónicos, y usan mucho los campos magnéticos y electromagnéticos sobre todo. Entonces ellos piensan así que algunas cositas adentro del material de cerámica que también puedan contribuir a esos conceptos que ya trabajan.
Only if the planet does not before we can make
If I get into glass.
y cambiamos de materia, ¿no?
Sí.
You've traveled, you've played in the two terms, no, in the two means of jugar y tocar. You've eaten different types of food, you've met different types of people, you've slept in many different contexts, probably camping, I don't know if luxurious hotels, RVs, in the forest, in the desert, and everywhere. Han dormido en diferentes lados, conocido diferentes personas, comido un montón de comidas diferentes, en fin, diferentes altitudes, latitudes, etc. Is there anything that you still think you haven't done apart from the ceramics, and that you're like, yeah, why not someday? ¿Hay algo que no hayan hecho todavía que les dé vueltas en la cabeza?
Artistically, the list is long, I think, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. The world is gigantic, but I don't know. Like, what do you want to do?
¿Qué falta?
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. There you go.
Ajá. Creo que tuvimos. I think we had a problem here with the camera, pero there's something that we can kind of. Okay. Well, it's you there.
Okay.
Nereo is not in the show. There he is. So, what is this something that you haven't done? Dicen que artísticamente, pues prácticamente han hecho todo. Digo, perdón, han hecho, la lista es larga, Pero bueno, algún día será. Bueno, no han ido a la lucha libre, pero eso se resuelve en unos 20 minutos, 25 minutos, irán a la lucha libre. Are you on the technical side or the rude side? ¿Técnicos o rudos?
¿Sí?
Los rudos.
I think we can follow.
Okay. Is there... Gracias. No sé si se escucha bien. Ahí dedos un poco de la ¿vale? How would you like to end up this conversation? ¿Cómo quisieran terminar esta plática? No sé qué, pero how would you like to close up, to sum up this conversation?
Well, first of all, thanking everybody for allowing us to share our work, because we've done this tour completely independently. So it's only because other people gave us the space that it was possible to do it. And we are waiting for people to write to us so that we have good reasons to come back.
Primero que nada, agradeciéndoles a todas las personas que han hecho esto posible, a los lugares a los que han llegado, han recibido su propuesta, y pues esperan que mucha más gente les escriba y digan, regresan a México, a Puebla, a Musa, a donde van a tocar mañana a partir de las, ¿qué? 8, 7. Estamos en la 2 Oriente, 809, así que aquí estamos. Digamos, ¿algo más? Passepartout Duo, Facebook, Instagram, un poquito de Twitter, próximamente TikTok, y pues ya. Pues, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We hope to see you soon, or to follow you through the social media to where you are, somewhere in this surprise. Nereo.
Entonces, muchas gracias, les agradecemos a Arturo que ellos se acercaron a nosotros, que hicieron compartir escenarios y experiencias. Nosotros en Puebla, y qué mejor también para cerrar su gira. Este año comenzó y toda Latinoamérica, kilómetros. Y pues, qué bien que culminan acá con nosotros. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Eso fue el vórtice. Pues ni modo. Salud. Que estén muy bien.
Salud.
Nos vemos pronto. Thank you. Merci. Gracias. Bye. Vámonos, don David.
el vórtice.